If you're an athlete, a parent of an athlete, or a coach, you've probably wondered what actually makes the difference. Is it talent? Is it genetics? Or is it something else that the best athletes possess that others simply don't? My name is Nils Hestermann, and as the General Manager of Performance and Pathways at NSW Centre of Excellence and a strength and conditioning coach for 20 years, I have had the privilege of working with athletes from grassroots all the way to podium level. And I've seen thousands of athletes come through our doors. I've noticed patterns in those who make it to the top. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to share with you the 3 traits that separate athletes who reach the highest levels from those who plateau. Using insights I've gathered from over 20 years working with Olympic, professional and youth athletes across Australia, Asia and Europe. The first trait is consistency, but not just in the showing up sense. It's about turning up with a long-term vision and understanding that it's not one session that makes or breaks you. It's the compounding effect of multiple sessions over and over again. Let me tell you about one of the golfers we have worked with. This athlete has just won the Australian Open, a massive achievement in the professional golf. Most people would celebrate, take time off, maybe go on holidays. But the very next morning, he was back in our gym, ready to train. Now, you might think that's obsessive, but here's what was actually really happening. This athlete understood that winning the Australian Open wasn't the end goal. It was just a stepping stone. He had that long-term vision of playing at the top tour, and he knew that one win, no matter how significant, was just booking the ticket. The real work was just beginning. This is what we see consistently with athletes who reach the highest level. They see the bigger picture. They understand that development isn't built in one day, and they have that long-term buy-in that keeps them showing up even when they have already achieved something significant. Think about it like a compound interest in finance. If you invest $100 today, it might not seem like much, but if you consistently invest $100 every month for 20 years, the compound effect becomes extraordinary. Athletic development works exactly the same way. The second trait is attention to detail around the processes, from training to recovery, competition and preparation. But this goes much deeper than just following a program. Elite athletes become students of their own performance. They don't just do the exercise, they understand why they're doing them. They don't just follow the nutrition plan, they understand how their different foods affect their energy levels, their recovery and their sleep quality. Here's a perfect example. We recently assessed a middle distance runner who had been struggling to consistently hit their target splits. Our testing revealed limited hip extension and rotational mobility, which was impairing their stride mechanics and running economy. Now, most athletes would just do the hip mobility exercise we prescribed and move on. But this athlete took it further. They wanted to understand why they weren't able to extend their hips. Was it their sitting posture during the day? Was it their warm-up routine? Was it related to their strength imbalances? They started paying attention to how their hips felt after different types of training sessions, after long days at work, and after different sleep positions. Based on that assessment, instead of just prescribing generic hip mobility exercises, we designed a targeted intervention that addressed their specific limitations while integrating movement patterns relevant to running performance, ensuring the gains transferred directly to their sport. This level of self-awareness allowed us to create a much more targeted approach. Instead of just treating the symptom, we address the root cause. That's the difference between good athletes and great athletes. Great athletes become expert in their own bodies. But here's where it gets really interesting. Elite athletes also understand the hierarchy of what matters. They don't get lost in the details that don't move the needle. They focus their attention on the processes that have the biggest impact on their performance. For example, they might be obsessed over their pre-competition routine because they know that mental preparation can make or break a performance. They understand what deserves their attention and what doesn't. This is where having the right support network becomes crucial. At our center, we help athletes understand which details matter most for their specific sport and their individual needs. A track athlete's attention to detail looks different from a swimmer's, which looks different from a golfer's. The third trait is competitive drive, but not in the way most people think. It's not just about wanting to win, it's about never being satisfied with the bare minimum. These athletes have this internal drive that means when they reach one goal, they immediately start asking, what's next? Going back to our golfer, winning the Australian Open could have been enough for many people, but for him, it just made him hungrier. He knew that to compete at the highest level consistently, He needed to keep improving. He needed to keep pushing, keep finding those marginal gains. This drive manifests in different ways. Some athletes are naturally competitive with others, but the best ones are competing with themselves. They are consistently looking for ways to get better, to improve their processes, and to find extra 1%. What's fascinating is that this drive needs to be balanced with well-being. Recent research shows that the #1 predictor for sustained success in elite sport isn't just talent or genetics, it's well-being. Now, in our context, well-being doesn't mean being content or satisfied. It means continuous progress and personal development. The best athletes understand that improvement is a lifestyle, not a destination. This is where many athletes get it wrong. They think elite performance means pushing through the pain, ignoring their bodies and sacrificing everything for their sport. But the athletes who sustain success over years and decades understand that well-being and high performance go hand in hand. They understand recovery isn't a weakness, it's part of the process. They understand that having interest outside of their sport doesn't make them less committed. It makes them more resilient. They understand that asking for help isn't admitting failure. It's about being smart about their development. The drive I'm talking about is sustainable. It's not the kind of drive that burns out after 2 years. It's the kind of drive that keeps athletes improving for decades. It's fueled by curiosity, by the joy of getting better, by the satisfaction of mastering their craft. This is why we focus so much on creating the right environment at our center. We want to nurture this drive, not to exploit it. We want athletes to push themselves because they love the process of improvement, not because they are afraid of failure. Now, here's the thing. You can have all these 3 traits, but without the right system, the right environment, and the right people in your team who truly know their role, they won't take you where you want to go. This is where the holistic approach becomes crucial, which is we have developed specific systems that support athletes across every aspect of their development. We look at the complete picture, their physical development, their nutrition, their recovery, their prehab and rehab, and their competition preparation. But more importantly, we understand that every athlete is different. A 16-year-old hurdler has a different needs than a 25-year-old distance runner. Someone in their growth phase needs a different approach than someone who is physically mature. Our system's designed to meet athletes where they are at and take them to the next level. And yours should be too. The key is understanding that athletic development isn't just about the physical training. It's about creating an environment where these traits can be flourished, where consistency is supported by proper programming, where attention to detail is guided by expertise, where competitive drive is channeled productively, and where communication between team members ensures everyone is working towards the same goal. So there you have it, the 3 traits I've observed in elite athletes over 2 decades in this industry. Consistency with long-term vision, attention to detail in their processes, and a competitive drive that's never satisfied with the minimum. But remember, traits alone are not enough. You need the right environment, you need the right support, you need the right systems to help these traits flourish. If you are serious about taking your athletic development to the next level, or if you are a parent looking to give your child the best possible foundation for their sporting journey, we would love to help. At the Centre of Excellence, we provide that holistic approach, working with athletes across track and field, as well as other individual and team sports. You can find more information about our programs and how we can support your athletic journey in the description below. See you at the Centre.